Hi, this is my video for English week 1. So in week 1 we learn about reading and writing and the process of how it encourages the students to read and write. In the book Literacy in Australia, they talk about language experience approach where they encourage the students to tell a story, narrate a story, and if they are not able to write the story, a scribe is provided to them so that they can note down the story for the student, and later the student could read the story, or the peers could read the story of the student and share their ideas. Another approach that is talked about is the digital language experience approach, where there's a use of digital camera to capture images. These photos serve as a memory link to the child experience. This is something that we did in the class, something similar to that. In the class, we first talked about a poem about frogs. Later, that was the field building. Later, we talked about the creek creature and how we were supposed to draw a creek creature and build a story around it. So first, we drew a creek creature. First of all, we thought about what our creek creature is going to be. Then we drew our creek creature. Following, we went to the creek outside and clicked some pictures with our creek creature in this frame and built a story around it. This task challenged us to think and to be innovative, imaginative in creating our own story. For week 2, we started the lecture with the poem Trianti Wanti Gongolop, and at first it was a very difficult word for us to say, but by breaking the word into small diagrams, we were able to say the word with correct pronunciation. In the lecture as well, we reviewed some samples, and reviewing samples, it gave me an insight on how to assess the students' writing according to their writing level, what to observe, and how to categorize them as beginners, intermediate, or advanced. We also talk about the process of writing, that is preparing to write by building the field around the topic, actually writing, revising, editing, and finally publishing the work. Task analysis, word poem writing. In the workshop, we did poem writing. At first, we were given a picture to build a field of the poem. Later, we had to write some words that we saw in the picture. This task was done in group. So me and my partner, we cut the words and we started arranging them in a way that sounded like a poem and that made meaning to us. When we were finally done, we were supposed to publish it and display it on the classboard. The task helped me understand that to be a good teacher, you have to be able to think in the moment and write on your own before you can teach how to write. In the Red Creek School as well, the students were doing shared reading every day. They had their designated group work and daily writing following a workshop process approach. Also, the students published their work in the class like we did. Hi, this is my video diary for week 3. Now week 3, we started the lecture with the schwa sound, that is also called the lazy sound. This week, we also talked about the teaching learning cycle. In the book Teaching Language in Context, Derowinka and Jones mentioned that teaching learning cycle has 5 stages, that is, building knowledge of the field, supported reading, modeling, discussion, during construction, in independent use of genre. During this teaching learning cycle, the role of the teacher is very significant. For example, while doing shared reading, the teacher plays an important role in a way that the learning is controlled by the teacher. They would ask the question related to the text in order for students to give answer and build their knowledge, scaffold the knowledge. During a joint construction task, the students work in pairs or small groups, and the teacher's role is significantly less as compared to a group or shared reading task. Whereas in the independent task, the students are free to build their own knowledge, and the teacher's interference is very little. The students can work in building their own knowledge. For example, when we were doing the reading where the wild things are in class, we did various tasks related to it. So for the group task in where wild things are, we came up with some questions during shared reading that we could ask the students to get some knowledge out of them. Whereas when we were doing individual tasks, we worked on our own, and the responses that we gave were not influenced by the class or the teacher or our peers. Hi, this is my video diary for week 4. So this week we mainly focus on narrative in early years. In their book, Derewinka and Jones have categorized the narratives of learning into different categories according to the field. Text can be classified as classic, fantasy, thriller, fairy tale, etc. According to the audience, it can be classified for children, junior, boys, girls, etc. And in the form of medium, it can be classified as print, oral, visual, or digital. When we talk about narrative, it is important to talk about the plot of the story, the characters of the story, and the setting in which the story is taking place. In the workshop, we did a character map of Max, the wild things. So when we are taking the students of Red Creek School out for whale watching, our first task can be building a character. So they can draw a whale and all the things that they know about the whale. Now, with the help of the workshop task, mapping the narrative, it became clear that the student should know about the story beginning, middle, and ending. It also became clear that the student should be able to identify the characters and describe the character in order of what they say, what they do, what is their relationship, their role in the story. They should be able to use words and images to describe. They should be able to categorize them in noun groups, verb groups. Some of the tasks that can be adopted in the Red Creek School when they are going whale watching is basically asking them to create a whale character or a sea character and asking them to develop on it. For example, where does it live, what does it eat, and all the different information about the whales, following which they should be taken on the whale watching trip. And when they are back, we can ask them to make a story or write a narrative on their experience and share their work in the class on the class board display. Hi, this is my video for week 5. So in week 5, we started the lecture with building noun groups for description, that is revisiting the participant, process, and circumstances, the PPC approach, where we ask questions like what is happening, who and what is involved in the story and what are the conditions of the happening. By asking these questions, we can see how the meaning of the text changes significantly just by changing a few words in the text. We can change the whole narrative of the story or how the way we're going to tell the story. For example, in the class, we were given a prompt. Once upon a time, Jack found an ancient wooden box, and it was amazing to see how different people came up with different ways of writing the story with this prompt. Later, we were given the same prompt and we were supposed to write an informative text about it. It was clear that our writings completely changed, as earlier we were being very creative and there was no barrier of what we wanted to write. But when we were given the information that we had to write an informative report on this, our narratives changed completely, as it was more factual. In the past 5 weeks, I learned that writing and reading is a constant process and it can never end. As a teacher, I need to have the skills to be able to confidently teach my students and scaffold the knowledge of reading and writing to them according to their levels. I learned that the reading and writing process doesn't have to be very complicated. Writing process can start with whatever children want to write about and then go on to classify that into various categories and encourage the students on whatever they are writing and their readings. Also, these past 5 weeks showed me the importance of the teaching learning cycle and how it doesn't have to be in a sequence, as in it doesn't have to be a group task at first or a shared reading at first. It can be in any given order, but it is important to have all these 3 tasks in your teaching learning cycle so that students can learn, the teacher can scaffold the knowledge to the students during the shared reading, and in the group task, the students can work with their peers and share their knowledge and expand their knowledge, and in the individual task where they can build their own knowledge and show what they have already learned about the topic.